what happens when billionaires are gone? While their fortunes once seemed endless, the real interest lies in what becomes of their heirs and wealth, because they won't be buried with it. Some heirs go on to make even more billionaires, while others waste it all, as we will see in this video. The first heirs on our list are the Jhunjhunwalas. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala. Rakesh Jhunjhunwala is an Indian billionaire investor, stock trader, and chartered accountant. Rakesh started his empire with an investment of 5,000 rupees in 1985, with his first major profit in 1986. His knack for picking the best investment opportunities and accurate market prediction soon led to his recognition as the market king. Before his death in 2022, Rakesh had a net worth of $5.8 billion. This was the reason he was nicknamed the Indian Warren Buffett. But upon his death, his assets had increased, and he left a total of $8 billion and 3 children to enjoy his wealth. So let's see how they are faring. Choosing to avoid his life becoming one of the Bollywood movies he loved to produce, Rakesh's life wasn't so public, and the same goes for his family. It also stayed that way after his death. Not much is known of his children since they are still young. His twin boys, Aryaman and Aryavir, born in 2009, are presently in the university in the United States. However, his first child and only daughter, Nishtha, born in June 2004, is a graphic, web, and UI/UX designer. Like her siblings, she is off the radar with a private Instagram account. Don't feel sorry for them. They might be off the radar, but they are doing very well. How do we know? Rakesh's wife, Rekha Jhunjhunwala, took control of his empire after his death, and under her leadership, it has expanded and become even more profitable, with a whopping net worth of $9.3 billion as of 2024. She has an impressive portfolio, including real estate and stocks, and has been noted to be a collector of luxurious properties. Why settle for something less with that kind of wealth? Well, she recently made a notable acquisition to preserve an unobstructed view of the Arabian Sea from her mansion. Can you imagine the level of wealth a person must enjoy to buy a building just to maintain their view of the sea, instead of carrying placards and berating capitalism like, well, you know who? Then again, with her wealth, she can afford it. Rekha is considered the second richest woman in India, which means, of course, the billionaires' kids are okay and richer than before, probably just busy in school learning how to manage their ever-growing wealth. Next are the job heirs. Steve Jobs. Known for co-founding Apple Inc. and, later on, Pixar, this billionaire left the world a better place than he met it. But will his children agree? Steve Jobs was an American businessman, inventor, and investor who died with a net worth of more than $10 billion. Now, there are a lot of interesting facts about this businessman, but that is not the focus for today. His often tumultuous journey as a creative led him to build one of the most impressive portfolios in the world of technology and revolutionized communication forever. At the time of his death, he was worth more than $10 billion and would have been worth more if he had held on to his shares in Apple. Again, there is a backstory there that we won't get into today. Now, let's see how his 4 children are faring. His first child, Lisa Brennan Jobs, for whom he named the Apple Lisa, didn't have a relationship with her father during her formative years, all thanks to his denying paternity, even with a DNA test to show he is her father. The duo later had a relationship with Steve, apologizing for what happened, and Lisa grew into a well-rounded adult. She is a writer and is widely known not only as Steve Jobs' estranged daughter, but also as an award-winning writer. How rich is she? Jobs left his first child a multi-million-dollar inheritance. Given the vast size of Jobs' estate, it might seem like he could have been more generous, but given their rocky relationship over the years, she is lucky to get anything at all. His other children aren't faring any better in the inheritance department. This is because Steve left all his wealth, estimated now to be worth over $18 billion, to his wife, Laureen Powell Jobs. In an interview with the New York Times, she made it clear that she wasn't going to share, not even with her children. Reed, his first son, started a $200 million venture fund named Yosemite in August 2023, while Eve is making a name for herself as a model. In March 2022, Eve Jobs signed with DNA Model Management after making her runway debut with the French fashion label Coperni. She also appeared in a Glossier holiday campaign with actress Sydney Sweeney. Eve Jobs has taken it a step further since appearing in a solo Vogue and Louis Vuitton campaign. For the last child, Erin, next to nothing is known. She is considered the most private of Jobs' children and keeps a low public profile. Well, one thing is true. The Jobs kids have to make their way in the world with no billions waiting for them when they come of age. But honestly, they are not doing that badly. The name Jobs is probably worth billions anyway. If you are a lover of luxury eyewear, you probably know the next billionaire, or at least his brands. But what about his children? We're talking about the Del Vecchio clan. Leonardo Del Vecchio. Leonardo Del Vecchio, the Italian king of fashion and retail, died of pneumonia in 2022 at the age of 87. Guess money can't protect you from some things when you get to a certain age. Leonardo was an Italian billionaire businessman, the founder and chairman of Luxottica. Luxottica is the world's largest producer and retailer of glasses and frames, with over 8,000 stores. At the time of his death, he had a net worth of around $29 billion and was ranked the second richest person in Italy and 54th richest in the world by Forbes. What makes the late billionaire so impressive is that he started with nothing. Born into an impoverished family, he started from the very bottom of the barrel and forged a new path for himself. Leonardo made it his mission to end poverty in his line. He began his career as an apprentice to a tool and die maker in Milan, but decided to turn his metalworking skills to make spectacle parts and soon found his niche, eyewear. He started his first company, Luxottica S.A.'s, a limited partnership, in 1961 in Agordo, and never looked back. Over the years, Del Vecchio acquired and started several other businesses. Some of such prominent brands are Ray-Ban, Oakley, and Purcell. Leonardo grew his portfolio into the billions he was worth before his death. For a man like Leonardo, being wealthy alone isn't enough. It must extend to the next generation. But did he succeed, or is his family back at the bottom? We will soon find out. During his lifetime, Leonardo was married 3 times and had 6 children, 4 boys, and 2 girls. Now, that might seem like a lot for one man. I mean, have you checked out the cost of private education? But for a man of Leonardo's standing, it is just enough. Anyway, now that they have to split his wealth 6 ways or more, how are his children doing? His first son from his first wife, Claudio Vecchio, took over his father's business after his demise. He inherited a 12.5% stake in the family's Luxembourg-based holding company, Delfinand. What was most shocking was that he seems to have inherited his father's knack for luxury business. He also owns shares of Generali, Mediobanca, Unicredit, and Convivio, earning him an independent reputation as an astute businessman. Presently, Claudio is estimated to be worth about $9 billion, less than his father was worth, but that is to be expected considering Leonardo's assets had to be split 6 ways. Despite the split, Claudio is still very much enjoying the height of luxury and primed to pass it on to the next generation. His son is also taking up a role in the family business. He is a senior executive in the family company Luxottica. Grandpa will be so proud. Leonardo Del Vecchio's second son, Leonardo Maria Del Vecchio, followed in his brother's footsteps and is fully active in the family business as the head of Italian retail for EssilorLuxottica. Besides EssilorLuxottica, Leonardo also owns shares in insurer Generali, banks Mediobanca and Unicredit, and real estate developer Convivio, and is estimated to be worth over $6 billion at just 29 years old. Now, to the youngest sons. Luca and Clemente are the youngest Vecchios, but are just as wealthy as their brothers, with Clemente being named the youngest, richest billionaire in Italy at the age of 18. Clemente isn't interested in business, though. Reports indicate that he is particularly interested in science and technology. He wants to continue his studies in these fields. This shows that Clemente is committed to personal growth rather than solely focusing on managing inherited wealth. That kind of goal is only for the ultra-wealthy, don't you agree? The billionaire's daughters, Marisa and Paula, are also billionaires, thanks to their 12.5% holding in their father's company and their own growing influence in the fashion and retail industry. This family isn't jumping off the billion-dollar wagon anytime soon. Our next billionaire kids are Herbert Kohler's children. Herbert Kohler. Herbert was an American billionaire businessman, a member of the Kohler family of Wisconsin, and the executive chairman of the Kohler Company. Unlike the other billionaires on this list, Herbert was born into wealth, the Kohler fortune. To understand how rich and accomplished this family is, picture golden diapers and diamond teethers. They even have a publicized family tree, with individuals with achievements scarier than anything you will see on LinkedIn. Herbert went to the very best schools, so of course he studied for his degree at Yale. After graduating from Yale in 1965, he joined the Kohler Company full-time. In 1972, just 7 years after joining the company, Herbert was appointed chief executive officer. He steadily built his wealth during his career in several roles, and eventually as the company's chairman. He died with a net worth of $8.8 billion in 2022 as the executive chairman of the Kohler Company. He had 3 children, including David, 4th-generation leader of the family company. David Kohler is also a billionaire and has doubled the family's wealth to a whopping $16.2 billion. Yes, that's right, the Kohler family's billionaire status is here to stay. Herbert's daughter, Rachel Kohler, married Mark Samuel Hoplamazian. Mark Samuel is an Armenian-American businessman who has been the president and CEO of Hyatt Hotels Corporation since December 2006. Can you guess what he's worth? I'll save you the stress. It is in billions. You see, apart from marrying into and coming from money, Rachel is also an entrepreneur. In 2024, her brother announced on LinkedIn that she was starting her business venture called Steam. Steam is a tech startup in Chicago to connect learners with short-term training programs for highly skilled roles. The last Kohler kid, Laura, is also part of the family business, having served in the Kohler Foundation, among others. She is interested in art and education, and she is presently the vice president of human resources for the Kohler Company. She is also a mother of 3, and, according to her LinkedIn profile, enjoys hiking, yoga, theater, and exploring new cultures. The Kohler family might not be in your face with their wealth, but don't let that fool you into thinking they are going through a rough patch. All the kids are accomplished and getting the next generation of Kohler heirs ready to take their corporate thrones. Now, before we move on to the next billionaire heirs, it seems every billionaire's kid is doing well on this list, right? Well, what were you expecting? That they would have lost all their fortune and are now poor? Well, it generally takes a lot of effort and more than one generation to lose the kind of wealth their fathers amassed before their deaths. Becoming death poor that fast only happens in movies, but there is a family who proves that it can happen in a generation. They are the last family on our list, so make sure to watch till the end to find out who they are. But the fourth family on this list is the Australian Mateschitz family. Dietrich Mateschitz. Dietrich Mateschitz made his fortune by energizing the world. That's right, from creating and promoting the energy drink, Red Bull. With an estimated net worth of $27 billion at the time of his death, Dietrich's vast portfolio included shares in Formula One, a media company, several football clubs, hockey clubs, and of course, Red Bull GmbH, to name a few. Following the tragic loss of his life in his fight with pancreatic cancer, his billion-dollar portfolio moved to his one and only son, Mark Mateschitz. Not much is known about him except that he went to high school in Salzburg, Austria, and then studied business administration at Salzburg University of Applied Sciences. During his early life, he kept a low profile and went by his mother's surname. Only his middle name, Dietrich, suggested a link to his father. He was brought up as an only child, which might mean loneliness to others, but for him, a monopoly of wealth as well. That's right, this billionaire heir has no siblings to worry about since his father never married, which means he owns all that money. To make things better for himself, he has managed to increase his father's wealth in just 3 years, with his current net worth estimated at about $39 billion. That's like a $12 billion increase, making him the 31st richest man in the world. But how did he do it? Mark Mateschitz decided to expand the family business and start new products. His business decisions have been profitable so far. In 2018, he launched his own drinks company called Thalheimer Heilwasser GmbH. This company produces beer and lemonade with water from one of Austria's oldest springs. He also recently acquired the collection of historic Grand Prix and Formula One racing cars established by Bernie Ecclestone for $500 million. That one-time investment alone is a lot of money for most people, but for Mark, it's not a big deal. Following in his father's footsteps, or at least that is what people think, Mark has not been married once in his 32 years on Earth or been found in any similar situation until recently. As of 2024, he is said to be in a relationship with Victoria Swarovski, another billionaire heiress popularly known as the Crystal Princess. At least now, if things go well, and there is all indication it will. And with the couple moving into their dream house in Marbella on the Costa del Sol, according to Villarroel, there is a possibility of the third generation of Mateschitz, maybe even Mateschitz, Swarovski billionaire heirs. Can you imagine how rich those kids will be? You probably cannot. Anyways, the news of his relationship must be a relief for his late father, where he is. Thus, Mark doesn't even have nieces or nephews, and the entire burden of creating the next generation of Mateschitz lies firmly on his shoulders. We will have to watch and see if this billionaire will leave his vast assets to heirs, no one, or to a cute puppy named maybe Gold. What else does one name a billionaire pet? Ted Lerner. The next dead billionaire with heirs is Ted Lerner. He was an American real estate developer and managing principal owner of the Washington Nationals baseball team. He built his wealth in real estate by starting his real estate company, Lerner Enterprises. Lerner Enterprise came with a $250 loan from his wife, Annette Lerner. He soon turned the startup into a highly profitable conglomerate owning commercial, retail, residential, and hotel properties, as well as Chelsea Piers in New York City. He was estimated to be worth a total of $6.4 billion in 2022. A year before his death, according to Forbes. With 3 children, Mark, Deborah, and Marla, the Lerner family's billionaire status could be shaky if his fortune is split in 3, but is it? Before answering the question, let's see what his heirs have been up to since his death. Ted's first child and only son, Mark, took over the reins of business after his father died, and one of his first moves made everyone worry. This was a proposed sale of the baseball team owned by his dad, the Washington Nationals. Thankfully, late last year brought along a level of certainty for the club and its fans, when Mark stated that the family had no intention of selling. It looks like this billionaire heir, after struggling for a while, has finally settled into his role as the driver of a massive heritage. Now not much is known about his sisters, Deborah and Marla, except that they are also key management figures in the Lerner kingdom. Deborah is married to Edward Cohen, who is a principal in the Lerner company. The second daughter, Marla, is also married to Robert K. Tannenbaum and is chair of the Annette M. and Theodore N. Lerner Family Foundation. She is also the chair of the Washington Nationals Philanthropies and the Washington Nationals Youth Baseball Academy. So yes, this billionaire family is also doing okay, having managed to survive the 2 uncertain years following the death of its patriarch. Sheldon Solo. Now for our last billionaire heirs. Remember when I said I would talk about a family whose situation is in reverse compared to the others? Our next billionaire heirs, Stefan and Nikolai Soloviev, might soon lose the billionaire status thanks to a couple of not-so-great decisions. The first child of his father, Stefan Soloviev, was born to Sheldon Solon, an American real estate developer and art collector billionaire from Brooklyn in 1975. Before we talk about how he is doing, which, here's a hint, isn't great, let's talk a little about his dad, the late billionaire. Sheldon Solon has a personality as eccentric as our beloved Sheldon Cooper. I mean, the man was involved in more than 200 lawsuits for the wildest reasons, like a slip of the tongue. Oh well, he might have been poor in human interactions, but he more than made up for it with his portfolio. Sheldon started his wealth journey as a real estate developer when he acquired his first property, a 72-family apartment building in Far Rockaway. This was in 1950, where he used a government-insured loan that his father, Isaac Solo, arranged. Old man Isaac might not have been rich, but he sure set the foundation for his son to build what was soon to be a conglomerate. Sheldon spent the next 70 years building his empire to be worth $4.4 billion until he died in 2020 from lymphoma. When Sheldon died, his son, 49-year-old Stefan, with whom he had a strained relationship, took over the baton and has since been busy doubling the family wealth, or so we hope. Stefan has always had a rough relationship with his father and has said himself numerous times that he thought of leaving the family business. While he might not have gone, it seems this billionaire heir is not as concerned about wealth as he is about building the next generation of billionaire Solovievs. He is the father of 22 children. You heard right, the 22 children are all biologically his. The time and energy needed to achieve this boggles the mind, but Stefan did it. Presently, the divorced billionaire is worth over $2 billion, his share of the family fortune. With that figure and family size, he needs to double down hard, or the next generation, heavens forbid, will be millionaires. With his history as a troubled youth and adult, that is however unlikely. On the home front, Business Insider has recounted that the older Soloviev brother is a terror to his never-ending parade of nannies who have described him as erratic and hot-tempered. His father might have been great at dishing lawsuits, but it looks like his son might soon be involved in some himself, and this time, he will be on the defense. The possibility of that happening and his financial standing is a bad combination for a struggling billionaire with almost 24 kids to care for. I know what you are thinking. That is hardly enough to leave him homeless. While that is right, one has to think of the fact that to billionaires, having one vacation house is the same as sleeping on the streets. Sheldon's second son, Nikolai Soloviev, is also part of the family business as the vice president of Soloviev Group. Not much is known about his personal life, but seeing as he isn't on the Forbes list, he hasn't made the billionaire cut. How would poor Sheldon feel knowing his empire might not expand in his children's care? Well, that is all for today, guys. Most of all, the heirs are doing great by billionaire standards, and honestly, by regular people's standards, all of them are doing okay. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. And before you leave, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Wealth Corner so you don't miss the next ones.